Yes, now we are ready to start. Good afternoon to all of you. It is my pleasure today to welcome you to this webinar on India Bahrain trade and investment opportunities being organized by the Trade Promotion Council of India in collaboration with the Embassy of India in Bahrain. This webinar will focus primarily on the bilateral trade and investment potential for Indian and Bahraini companies in engineering goods and F&B technology. At the outset, I take the opportunity to introduce the eminent panel that we have with us today, which represents these sectors in both countries. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency Shri Piyush Srivastava, Ambassador of India to Bahrain. Welcome, sir. His Excellency Mr. Abdul Rahman Juma, Chairman of Bahrain India Society and Chairman of Unico Group, and CAPS Balasubramanyam, Vice Chairman Bahrain India Society and MD Ashok Group, Ebrahim Mohamed Ali Zainal, Chairman of Trafco Group, Mr. Farid Badr, Chairman and Managing Director, Badr Group of Companies and Chairman of Industrial Committee at the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Sanjay Grover, VP International Business Division, Kirloskar Pneumatic Company Limited, and Vice Chairman, Sectoral Committee on Food Processing and Packaging Technology, Trade Promotion Council of India, Mr. Devdatta Deshpande, Strategic Business Unit Head, Thermax, and Honorary Member, Sectoral Committee on Food Processing and Packaging Technology, Trade Promotion Council of India, and Mr. Ashok Sethi, Director, Trade Promotion Council of India. There is one update we would like to give here. His Excellency Mr. Abdul Nabi Alshoála, Founding Chairman of Bahrain India Society and Chairman of Fanar Investment, had confirmed to be a part of the panel, but expressed his inability to attend due to extraneous circumstances. Mr. Abdul Rahman Juma has kindly agreed to participate as panelist in his stead. Now, India-Bahrain relations have been traditionally strong and cordial on the bedrock of positive political, economic, and cultural exchanges. They also have a high degree of convergence on global issues. Bahrain has over 1.2 million residents that also include around 350,000 Indians, which is a major factor fueling mutual understanding and people-to-people exchange. Bahrain's GDP at current prices was recorded at US $33.9 billion in 2020, according to the IMF. After a contraction of 5.4% in 2020, the economy is projected to grow by 3.3% this year. While the Bahraini economy has traditionally also been oil dependent, it is becoming more diversified over time and offering a lot of opportunities in sectors like financial services, technology, manufacturing, logistics, tourism, real estate, healthcare, and education. In fact, the economy prides itself in the fact that around 80% of its GDP came from non-oil activities in 2018, and this is expected to grow in future. I mean, the degree of diversification. The country has progressively also liberalized its economy, thereby offering more opportunities for investment. For instance, the government offers 100% foreign ownership across a lot of sectors with no need for a local partner. Due to these advantages, FDI into Bahrain, one of the reasons, several advantages for FDI. That is why, the FDI into Bahrain in 2017 grew by 114%, despite global FDI falling by 23% that year. This is data from the Economic Development Board Bahrain. Notably, the economy also has around $32 billion in infrastructure and real estate developments that are in advanced stage of progress at the moment, showing how the future looks much brighter. Besides this, Bahrain's centralized location makes it a vital gateway to the Middle East. Now, India's exports to Bahrain were recorded at around $47 million in 2020, as compared to $720.45 million in 2018 and $607.95 million in 2019, according to the ITC trade map. Imports, on the other hand, stood at $492.85 million in 2020, compared to $587.03 million in 2018 and $386.13 million in 2019. From India's perspective, the major categories of export include machinery, HS84, plastics, HS39, cereals, HS10, mineral fuels, HS27, meat products, HS02, electrical machinery, HS85, iron or steel, HS73, and vehicles, HS87. India's total capital investment into Bahrain between January 2003 and March 2018 has been estimated at around $1.7 billion. Financial services is the major contributor of this, followed by real estate and hospitality. Conversely, Bahrain's investments into India were at around $181.57 million from April 2000 to June 2021, according to DPIIT. Now, coming to the topic of our discussion today, which is focused on engineering and F&B, I would now like to come to our esteemed panelists to share their initial remarks. First of all, I request Your Excellency Shri Piyush Srivastava to deliver the keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bari. Mr. Abdul Rahman Juma, Chairman of Bahrain India Society, Mr. Ashok Sethi, Director of Trade Promotion Council of India, distinguished panelists and business persons from India and Bahrain, Namaskar, Salam Alaikum. It is my pleasure to join you all in this very timely webinar focusing on two important sectors, engineering goods and food and beverages. I would like to first of all congratulate the Trade Promotion Council of India and Bahrain India Society for taking lead in organizing the webinar. As COVID-19 situation is improving significantly and our ability to fight the pandemic is increasing, focus is gradually shifting towards economic recovery now and revival. I must say these two sectors are very carefully chosen sectors, as these offer a lot of scope for intensifying our bilateral economic cooperation. The deep-rooted historic ties and economic relations between India and Bahrain provide an ideal platform for robust bilateral trade and investment. Our bilateral trade has been encouraging, remained stable even during COVID times, and has considerably increased in the first 8 months of this year. India is among the top 10 trading partners of Bahrain. Similarly, as Mr. Bari mentioned, that bilateral investments have also shown encouraging trends. The engineering sector is the largest of industrial sectors in India, and being closely associated with the manufacturing and infrastructure sectors is of strategic importance to India's economy. India has made significant strides towards developing its engineering goods sector and witnessed a remarkable growth over the last few years. I'm sure we will hear more about the sector's details of the sector and opportunities from some of our distinguished panelists from TPCI. I just want to say that engineering goods sectors in India offers tremendous opportunities for both exports as well as investment. There is, of course, comparative advantage in terms of manufacturing cost, technology, and innovation, besides 100% FDI, which is allowed through automatic. And we have seen a significant FDI into this sector in recent years. Similarly, Bahrain has developed downstream industries in aluminum and hydrocarbon sectors and is investing heavily in infrastructure projects. To name a few, the metro rail project, causeway projects, several housing, road, and highways projects. Besides, there is also ambitious renewable energy plan. These all provide immense opportunities for enhanced trade and investment between our two countries in this sector. When I look at the economic development in both our countries, I feel that true potential of our bilateral trade and investment, particularly in this sector, is not yet fully realized. I don't want to give data, but I can just say that out of total engineering goods exports, which are 75 billion from India in 1920, to Bahrain, our exports have been in the range of 150 to 300 million. I think with the efforts of both business person and the objective of this webinar, I'm sure this cooperation will further increase. Similarly, food exports, both agro-based and otherwise, have been a major part of India's exports to Bahrain. Trade figures for 2020 show that out of the 10 top products being exported to Bahrain, 4 belong to food category. India is a major supplier of rice, meat, sugar, spices, and fruits and vegetables to Bahrain, and indeed to the whole GCC region. However, we also need to look at this sector from a new perspective. In the post-COVID scenario, the food security has come to center a stage in Bahrain government's economic policies. It is one of the focus sectors as per the Economic Vision 2030 of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Like other GCC countries, Bahrain has also launched innovative agricultural programs. However, large-scale agriculture is proving to be cost prohibitive. We need to explore if we can be technological partners, and we means I am talking to our companies, in its innovative programs such as hydroponics and pisciculture. In response to food security challenges faced by Gulf countries, India is presently working on farm to port project. This will be similar to SEZ, but in the style of corporatized farm, where crops would be grown keeping a specific GCC market in mind, with dedicated logistics infrastructure all the way to the port. Food habits around the world is witnessing significant changes in two aspects. Ratio of packaged, ready-made food in everyone's daily intake is increasing day by day, and people are becoming very mindful of their health consciousness. So there is a pressing need to focus on the products such as organic food, processed cereals, protein bars, healthy beverages, dairy projects, etc., which is an area where we can look for collaboration as well as trade. I don't want to prolong because I would rather hear from the experts, from the people in this field, but I'm confident that this webinar is going to be interesting and our distinguished panelists are going to present many new and innovative ideas and perspectives, which will pave way for increased interaction and trade and investment between our agencies and private sector, particularly in engineering goods and F&B sector. I once again congratulate TPCI and BIS for organizing this webinar and wish them all the success. We at the embassy are always available for any kind of assistance for such endeavors aimed at deepening the economic engagement between India and Kingdom of Bahrain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your encouraging remarks and also the invaluable support of the embassy in organizing this webinar. Obviously, we couldn't have imagined it happening without your support. Would like to come to Mr. Abdul Rahman Juma, Chairman of Bahrain India Society and Chairman of UNICO Group, and he will be talking to us about the business climate in Bahrain. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome and thank to His Excellency Mr. Piyush Srivastava, the Indian Ambassador to Bahrain, Mr. Ravi Kumar Jain, Second Secretary, Commerce, Education, and Head of Chancery, Indian Embassy, Bahrain. I sincerely thank Mr. Ebrahim Zainal, Chairman of Trafco Group. Sorry. Also, Mr. Farid Badr, Chairman, Managing Director of Badr Group of Companies, and Chairman of Industrial Committee at Bahrain Chamber of Commerce. I thank Mr. Ashok Sethi, Director of Trade Promotion Council of India, and our moderator, Mr. Varant Bari, Deputy Director, Media and Corporate Communication Trade Promotion Council of India. I would like to thank you, Mr. Sanjay, Governor, Vice President, International Business Division, Chris Carr Pneumatic Company Limited, and Vice Chairman, Second Committee, Food Processing and Packaging Technology, for joining us. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Despansi, Strategic Business Unit, Thermex, and Honorable Member, Secretary Committee of Food Processing and Packaging Technology for joining this webinar. Now, brief about Bahrain India Society. We were formed in 2008, composed of both Bahraini and Indian businessmen, to promote closer ties and develop the friendship between peoples of Bahrain and India. Our membership consists of businessmen, professionals, doctors, media, lawyers, educationals, ex-ministers, and other professionals. The main objectives of BIS are promote cooperation in economic, culture, sports, and scientific fields, create awareness of Bahrain's strategic location, benefits of friendly business laws, business opportunities available in India, increase bilateral trade and business increase bilateral trade and business opportunity between the two countries, information sharing, B2B introduction, organizing events and conferences by bringing eminent speakers and VIP guests. We look forward to achieve closer cooperation with TPCI to establish and promote Indian companies to have a JV partnership and manufacturing in Bahrain and vice versa. There is no need to say that the proximity of Bahrain to in the area in the Gulf and proximity Saudi Arabia, and to benefit with the American trade, that would be the best benefit to any JV in the area. I wish you all a fruitful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I will now move on to Mr. P.S. Balasubramanyam, Vice Chairman, Bahrain India Society and MD Ashok Group, who will further elaborate on the activities and how Bahrain India Society aims to enhance business cooperation between the two countries. Mr. Balasubramanyam? You're on mute.
Yeah, a very good afternoon to everybody. Thank you, Your Excellency, the Ambassador of India to Bahrain, Shri Piyush Srivastava ji, and also Mr. Ravi. And sincere thanks to Mr. Ebrahim Zainal, a doyen in the FMCG business in Bahrain. I'm sure you are going to hear a lot from him. Thanks to Mr. Farid Badar to accept to be participant in the webinar. He brings a lot of wealth of experience, and plus, in addition, he is also the chairman of the industrial committee at the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and businessman, and he is a businessman in his own right. Thanks to Mr. Ashok Sethi, with whom we had initial discussion about this webinar. So thank you for starting this relationship. Mr. Sanjay Grover and Mr. Deodatta Deshpande, I'm sure we are going to hear a lot from you about what opportunities exist. The very, the idea that we are being joined by businessmen and investors from Bahrain who would like to hear, what is there that could potentially be of interest to, a possible joint venture between Indian companies and also, the Bahrainis to invest in back home in India. As mentioned, earlier, Mr. Alshoála, our founding chairman, could not join because of his travel commitments. And thanks to Mr. Juma for being here. Mr. Juma has already given a brief about what Bahrain India Society is composed of, and it's a representative of all professions. we have lawyers, doctors, chartered accountants, businessmen, industrialists, and the entire gamut of businessmen are members of the society. And we strive to actually make a relationship. Actually, we are also in touch with the CII, and then we want to see that we develop this relationship, which will fructify in setting up of industries of a sizable nature, which is required on both sides. Now, one thing that I would like to highlight, apart from the business-friendly climate that is there, is the FTA, the free trade agreement between Bahrain and USA. Because especially now, because of the anti-dumping policy against China and the favorable climate of FTA with Bahrain, there is a lot of synergy that could potentially be utilized by Indian companies. That is one thing that needs to be probably looked at by the Indian companies, because the only requirement there is that there should be a minimum of 35% value add from Bahrain. And as you know, Bahrain is a very free and open society. You have a very educated population here. They are, the Bahrainis are, all of them are educated and they are bilingual. The advantage is that, and Bahrain is the gateway to the GCC. Saudi Arabia is hardly half an hour drive from here. And, that links you to the Eastern province. And flight to Dubai or Oman or, Kuwait is a 1 hour flight. So that way it is strategically located. It is business friendly. And the Ministry of Commerce and Economy have, as Mr. Juma rightly pointed out, there are businesses that could be owned 100% by foreigners, but it is always because there are businessmen in Bahrain who are interested to invest jointly with the industrial giants in India. I could give one example, if I may, is that Parley has a what do you call factory in Oman, and they have a factory in Bahrain, but not Britannia. So probably there is one example that I can give among the many that could possibly be there. So basically, the idea of this Bahrain India Society is to promote economic relations, create awareness of the strategic location of Bahrain, increase bilateral trade and business opportunities, information sharing, B2B introductions, and we bring speakers. Every month we have speakers. We at least make 12 to 15 programs in a year, so that we exchange ideas, and then we want to be a catalyst in the form of business relationship, and we look forward to closer relations with the Trade Promotion Council of India, so that we can take it to the next level. And I mean, as a continuation of the webinar, we hope that we are able to link and connect with as many people way back in India, and we can give all the support and guidance for their relationships, in Bahrain. So with this, I wish you all a grand webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for raising very important pointers and talking about the role of Bahrain India Society. Now, I would like to request Mr. Ebrahim Mohamed Ali Zainal, Chairman of Trafco Group, to speak on the F&B technology potential in Bahrain. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to everybody. I would like, first of all, to start my words with word of thanks to Bahrain India Society, Mr. Abdurrahman Jum'a, the chairman, Mr. Bala, the vice chairman, and the founder, Mr. Abdul Nabi, who is absent from the scene at the moment. But thank you all for inviting me. And I should also put a word of thanks to Trade Promotion of India, Mr. Ashok and Mr. Bahri, our host here. Thank you very much. And of course, the presence of and blessing of His Excellency, the Ambassador of Bahrain, Mr. Srivastava, certainly gives this meeting the official seal and support. Thank you all for the invitation. Relations between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the Republic of India dates back to over 200 years in history and even before. In fact, pre and post independence of both Bahrain and India, Bahrain was the major point of trade between India, the Gulf, Iraq, and Iran. Yes, Bahrain was and still is a small island, but its geographical location and the fact that it was a base for the British political agent in the Gulf who used to report to Bombay, representative of British Crown, gave it a greater importance and a better social and business environment comparing to our neighbors. With organized customs regulations and good facilities at the port, well ahead of other cities in the Gulf, and an open social community, a lot of Indian traders took Bahrain as a base. And today we have still families that are living here since over 100 years, and some of them have become Bahrainis even. Bahrain has been a center of pearl trade, as you know, and Bahraini pearl was very well known within the rich families in India for its quality, and most of the trading families in the pearl have offices in India, used to have offices in India, and particularly on Muhammad Ali Road in Bombay. So a lot of pearl merchants were located in India. We go now back to the traditional export of India to Bahrain has always been food. Food is a necessity. And as you know, Bahrain and most of the Gulf countries depend for over 80 to 85% of their food needs by importing from outside. As there is, this area lacks proper agriculture for reasons known to everybody. Is the climate, is the soil, is the non-availability of water. All these reasons have made that agriculture has not developed in this part of the world in a big way. Agriculture contribution to GDP is nominal in Bahrain, nominal. Bahrain GDP has shown a healthy growth in the last 20 years from $9 billion in 2001 to approximately $3.4 billion in 2021. 34 billion, sorry, from 9 billion to 34 billion in 2021 at an average annual growth of 7.5%. In the recent years, food security has been a major policy adopted by governments in the Gulf and particularly in Bahrain. India, for its proximity, can be a major food supplier to the area. Today, like many years before, Bahrain imports its major food commodities from India, being it rice, sugar, spices, tea, pulses, meat, fruits and vegetables, and other processed foods. However, type of food demand has changed, and a lot of manufactured, processed, and repacked foods items are done locally in the Gulf. And this is where I personally see prospects for for more collaboration between Indian investors and their counterparts in Bahrain. India can supply many food ingredients that can be imported in bulk and processed and manufactured here for marketing, not only in Bahrain, but throughout the Gulf and worldwide. Bahrain, with its 25-kilometer causeway connected to Saudi Arabia, can be an ideal location for establishing such joint ventures. With the global hike in the transportation and freight costs in the last couple of years, the local production can be cost saving and easier to move in the area. Bahrain is an ideal location for food manufacturing, and that's a reason why such large companies like the US Mondelez, Kraft Cheese, Tang Drinks, and Oreo biscuits producers and the Swedish dairy giant Arla, pork cheese and dairy, among others, have moved base to Bahrain to serve all the Middle East, and so for up and as far as Africa and Far East. In fact, goods produced in Bahrain can move free of any customs duty to all Gulf countries, all Arab countries, USA and Singapore because of free duty bilateral agreements. This by itself is sufficient to attract Indian investors to come and take base here. I believe this has been the attraction that made a subsidiary company of an Indian biscuit manufacturer. I think Mr. Bala mentioned Parle, and that's it, to start building a factory and produce biscuits in Bahrain. The areas that personally I believe the prospects exist are dairy, including soft drinks and ice cream, bakery, snacks and related industries, fish farming, processing and packaging, tea and spices processing and repackaging, processing of meat, packaging and marketing. These are some examples I am giving. Of course, there is a wide range of products that can be produced. Mostly the ingredients, animal feeds, etc., can be imported in bulk from India, processed and packed here and sold worldwide. With accessibility to foreign exchange and support of government, well-established operations can be profitable and prosper in Bahrain. Business has no longer become the traditional way of trading in commodities. I mean, we get a lot of traders from India just interested to trade the commodities. That is no longer going to continue. The chance is to join hands and produce, use the ingredients that comes from India and make a process here. Added value of will boost the business and the products. As a company, Trafco Group is a listed company on Bahrain bourse, and we welcome ideas for any similar joint ventures in the food sector. Bahrain has its own attraction as the government is keen to render all support needed to industries and in particular, repeat, food industries to take base in Bahrain for the food security of the country. I will give some points that would be to explain why Bahrain is attracting foreign investment. First of all, low industrial land lease rates, no corporate income tax or personal income tax, lower cost for setting up and running business in Bahrain. In fact, the cost of putting up a business operation in Bahrain, it costs between 20 to 30% lower than most of the countries in the Gulf. Possible 100% foreign ownership in manufacturing without free zone restrictions. You can put up your factory anywhere on the island, free zone or inside the country. Raw material, machinery and equipment for manufacturing are free from any customs duty. You can import the machineries free of any customs duty. The ingredients you are also free of customs duty. First-class banking system, access to foreign exchange and best interest rates for financing manufacturing projects. As you know, Bahrain is a center of banking system, and most of the banks are open to entertain any financing opportunities, particularly in the manufacturing and food sector. Highly developed port and easy access by sea, land and or air to all countries in the Gulf and worldwide. Bahrain is in the center of the Gulf. We have got easy movement, and the causeway to Saudi Arabia is the best way to have access to the largest consumer market in the Middle East, which is Saudi Arabia. Of course, I would add also that there is a skilled and highly educated local, labor, local staff, and local officers. I don't know if there are any other points that I have not covered for the chances of the food sector, and I would be glad to answer any questions. My apologies if I have taken longer time than what was allocated to me, and hope that the information provided is useful. Thank you all, and wish all the success to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. We are really thankful to you for all that information. It does give us a very holistic picture on what opportunities are there. I will now request Mr. Fareed Badr, Chairman and Managing Director, Badr Group of Companies, and Chairman of Industrial Committee at the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to speak on the opportunities in the engineering sector. Over to you, sir.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, sir, you can. You can.
All right. Your Excellency, Shri Piyush, the Ambassador of India in Bahrain, Your Excellency, Mr. Abdurrahman Jum'a, the Chairman of Bahrain Society, Bahrain Indian Society, distinguished guests, panelists, and participants. What I'm going to cover today is the history of my generation, plus who we are, and then getting into the Indian-Bahrain trade history. Some of the panelists, they discussed this briefly, but I will give some figures. Why Bahrain? I think Mr. Ebrahim Zainal, he mentioned about why Bahrain. I will walk you through that very fast because I only have 15 minutes, success stories, and some opportunities. Just a disclaimer, I am here representing Badr Group of Company. I'm talking from that, I'm wearing that hat. I'm not wearing the BCCI hat. So who we are, as you can see, I am the third generation. My grandfather was a trader, a merchant. In 1935, he used to import food goods from Iran and India. I think Mr. Ebrahim, he touched point on that. Because of the British Empire, were controlling this area, and everything was controlled, India, Iran, and Bahrain. Bahrain was a hub for the trade. They used to do barter trade. And this is, and then in 1965, my father, he took over and he started his own company as a contractor because of the booming and construction happened, and my father was a contractor. I came in after graduation from Swansea University as a civil engineer, and I created my own company. And hopefully my son will take over and I can retire by 2025. Let me show you who we are. So we are focusing on 6 sectors. We are into 6 sectors. And this 5 decades of achievement did not happen overnight. It happened with hard work and partnership. You see, I am an example of a great partnership between Bahrainis and Indians. If you can notice, most of my companies are joint ventures with Indian partners. And when I was thinking about the success, I came to this conclusion is that the only solution is to partner with somebody with technology, knowledge, and we have here resources available. I think, okay, although the government is encouraging, saying the foreign investors, FDI, can come to Bahrain with 100%, but I don't encourage that. I really encourage joint ventures is the best model to succeed. So as you can see, my manufacturing is downstream from the oil sector. We manufacture waterproofing and we started locally. Then we export to 25 countries. The environment business is a, you know, the COVID showed us what really are challenges we are facing. The next challenge would be the environment. Actually, global warming is a big challenge to everyone. The next thing will be the government and the industry will pay penalty for emission of CO2 to the atmosphere and causing the global warming. So we need to be responsible, and we need to think positively and worry about the environment and start thinking how we can improve the emission to the air. The next one is green product, which is it's an installation. I mean, energy conservation is very important. You know, the tariff, electricity tariff is going up. So we need to think about how we can conserve energy. So we are into that business with joint ventures with Indian partners. Dura System Middle East is a joint venture between Indian, Canadian, and Bahrainis. So that's another model, which is an interesting model, whereby Indians come up with knowledge, Canadian comes with manufacturing, and Bahraini comes with facilities and resources. Pioneer is recently I acquired a business in Bahrain, which was in the plastic sector. It was Indian also. So that was an opportunity. Phoenix is it's a real estate business. I will not talk about it much. And then we have the investment, which is an investment arm, which we invest into the startups in Bahrain who are really changing the game. You all know that now the startups and entrepreneurs are playing a major role in the innovation. So I think you have touched point on the relationship, but the relationship actually goes back to 5,000 years. The history goes back 5,000 years ago, tracing the origin to the period of Delmon civilization. Asian Bahraini traders believed to have carried out trade of Bahrain pearls with Indian spices from India. And there was a visit by External Affairs Minister to Bahrain in July 15, 2018. Agreements were signed in terms of the visits, the exemption of short stay visas for Indians, plus two very important agreement MOUs on renewable energy, which is a big topic these days, plus the MOU on cooperation in the field of healthcare. Healthcare is another topic to be touch point, to be think about joint ventures. These are some figures. I think you've touched point on the trade, bilateral trade between India. You've seen it as $1 billion. You've talked about import and export from India, and you have talked about all this. I will not say anything. Why Bahrain? Okay, for any investor, they would like to know 5 important points to invest. Is government really supportive? Is the institution supportive? So we have a government responsiveness to change, very flexible, a supportive institution, regulatory authorities, VAT policies. Now, this is a very important for investor. They want to know about VAT for export, although local VAT is 5%, and then it's going to go to 10% next year. For export is not very important. There is 0 custom duty on raw materials and plant machinery. You don't pay any duty. Freedom of investment, 0 corporate tax, 100 repatriation of capital and profit, no restriction. accessibility, which is important, duty-free access to GCC, and I will talk about the FTAs, and operational freedom. As you can see, Bahrain FTA flourishing. We have not only with US, many people don't know that we have agreements, free trade agreement with several countries. We have, of course, you know, GCC and US. We have also with European countries and also with Singapore. Bahrain offers the lowest. Now, these are the figures, very important figures for any investor in terms of, this is published by KPMG, by the way. You can see that the cost of sitting up in Bahrain is 60% cheaper. I think Mr. Ebrahim touched point on that. So you can see company formation, how much is $399, whereas UAE is 5,576. Land rental, 13,200, and UAE 55,000. Factory construction, you can see 545, whereby 655 in UAE. Office rental, 112, whereby UAE 409. You can see here also 33% lower in labor cost in Bahrain, according to the KPMG. Cost of the manpower plus the lower cost of living in Bahrain. We are really second ranking in settling in Bahrain. We rank the second. Overall ranking is 7th. Family life is 17th. Cost of living is 29th ranking. So we are on the top of very friendly, very feasible to start a business. Success stories. You can see all these companies have established in Bahrain, either joint venture or 100%. You can see some Indian companies there also. Kimco is an Indian company, as you can see, very successfully manufacturing bottles and exporting and to the major companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, and all these things. Notable successes in the manufacturing, you have these companies with the capital. For instance, Yokogawa, this is, I think, Mr. Abdurrahman's Jum'ah partnership, 26 million, BASF, Armcell, and Ariston. These are some companies who have come to Bahrain. Okay, let's talk about, this is what you've been waiting for. The opportunities. Okay, when we look at the opportunities of downstream, we should look at the supply chain. What are the industries which we can then take it, go down the stream and build on those industries. So we have Banagas produces the gas. We have Garmco produces the aluminium sheets, rolls. Asri is a shipping repair. GPIC is for urea, and I think it's exporting to India. One of the major importers are India. Babco, you have oil. Then Alba, you have the aluminium. So top investment opportunities in Bahrain downstream aluminium. We really focus on this because we have Alba here, and we can really focus on downstream. I'll explain later what are the downstream tier 1, tier 2. Another thing I would like to touch point of the waste management. As you can see, as I explained about the environment, and we need to be responsible, and we have 1.5 million ton of wastage, which can be turned into opportunity turn it either to energy or recycle it. Solar farm, yes, this is another subject. As you know, the energy cost is going up. So this is an opportunity for Indian companies who have, I think they are very experienced companies in India. They are into the solar panels, solar farms. And this is, I am really interested, to be honest. I'm working on this to create a fund and bring partners together, bring businessmen together, create a company with joint venture with India to manage this. So let's look at the aluminum. So we have the primary aluminiums. We have a billet, we have slabs, we have ingots, and then we go to the tier 1. We have the sheet coil, extrusion, profile rods, and casting. The tier 2 is where we need help. We need help in the downstream, in containers, making pots, and we can make, car bodies is another thing. If electric car is going to be one of the manufacturing in Saudi Arabia, maybe then it's good to joint venture Saudi, Bahraini, Indians to cater for this business. Now, very interestingly, I wanted to touch point on this. Is very important report carried out by JAFCON and Ministry of Commerce during His Excellency Hassan Fakhro. You know, it's astonishing. We import 615 million annually spare parts and parts of different valves and things which can be produced in Bahrain and create 2,000 jobs in Bahrain. And this has been shelved. So the study was, it's not moving. They did a prototype in Bahrain with products which can be really produced, and they did it and it was successful. These products represent 400 million dinar, which can be produced in Bahrain and create jobs. And not only that, we can save 60% of the cost when we manufacture locally. So this is another thing. Please take it serious. Indian community, take it serious. Let's put hands together and try to manufacture these things in Bahrain. You have the technology, we have the resources and other investments and other things. Now, waste management, as I said, 1.5 million wastage is being dumped in the landfill. When we look at this, you can see the major are organic. And imagine we are importing fertilizer from outside. Imagine, why don't we turn the food waste into fertilizer? That's the question. We need to think about that. Another thing, plastic is 15%. Paper is 20%. These all can be recycled. There is a pilot project done by, I think, the environment, trying to produce energy out of that. By 2025, they want to produce 5% of the energy of the Bahrain. I will not get into these things too much detail. We can talk offline if anybody's interested. Another one is tire recycling. We have millions of tons of tire sitting in the landfill. This is gold mine. We can recycle them. We can reduce the hazardous in the country. So there is a Canadian company who would like to come and join ventures with Bahraini and with anybody else if interested. they will offtake the whole production, 100% production, they will offtake. They will bring 70% funding. We only need 30% funding. You can separate the rubber, and there is fiber, and there is some copper. The main 75 is rubber. Then what you do, you mix the rubber with polypropylene, and you produce a new product which is used in the cars, bumpers and flooring. Let's go to the now environment. Environment is very sensitive and very essential nowadays, because the manufacturing are not competitive because of the cost of electricity. So we are looking into the initiative to create a fund and manage the company where we can provide solar panels plus the service after sales. By this, we will really help the environment, plus we create jobs and we create value for all the stakeholders. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't take more than what I was given at the beginning. And thank you for the organizers for giving me the opportunity, and wish you all the best.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for that very comprehensive presentation, which cuts across a lot of manufacturing sectors where we can explore potential. Now, I request Mr. Sanjay Grover, VP International Business Division, Kirloskar Pneumatic Company Limited, and Vice Chairman, Sectoral Committee on Food Processing and Packaging Technology, Trade Promotion Council of India, to speak on the Indian scenario in F&B tech and what kind of opportunities are they looking at in Bahrain. Right, Mr. Grover, over to you, sir.
Well, Excellency, my esteemed panelists, distinguished guests, good afternoon to you all on Bahrain side, and good evening to all in Indian side. Thank you very much, first of all, at the outset, TPCI for conducting this very apt program, because as Excellency mentioned in the beginning, food is a product which we have to talk whether it's a pandemic or no pandemic, and it's a thing which we have to be always looking at from industry perspective, from a human perspective, or a living perspective, and how technology can help and improvise every day, every moment. So let's coming to the point, as the topic given to me is this. I would like to break my talk into three sections, or the three areas. One piece would be, where do we stand today as India in terms of the food technology? What are the strengths we have? So where do we position India as country with respect to food technology industry? My second section would be touching upon the business relationship between India and Bahrain in terms of the food industry sector. Where do we stand today? And third, of course, is going to be the future potential for trade investments, how we can collaborate and make sure that, how do we grow together with respect to food technology. To begin with, my first topic, or the first point would be, where do we have food technology industry in India today? So look at the position of India today. If you look at the food technology industry in India, now this is one of the most promising and growing industry we all are looking at. We estimate that in the next 4 to 5 years, India would be touching around 50 billion of business, $50 billion for this food technology industry. That's what we are estimating. So there's a huge potential lying over here, and there is a huge opportunity lying in India for this particular sector. Now, what actually drives this? If you look at the element, what is making us so promising and so lucrative, in the sense, the first element, which we also heard from the panelists, that the landscape. Look at the landscape of the food requirement. What is happening in India? What has happened today is that people are having a different lifestyles. there is a big shift towards the value-added food products. And also there is a growing demand for a processing of the basic products like, we talk about processing of fruits or the vegetables or the grains. So if you look at the entire landscape of the food habits, there has been a shift in the last maybe a decade or so, which has actually resulted into the development and the innovation of the industry itself. So it means that when we talk about this new requirement in the market in India, the industry which is actually catering to the standard requirements, it has gone to the next phase of development. That means, for example, we talk about the processing in machinery, or we talk about the industry which is into that packaging. There has been a very significant improvement in terms of the technology, in terms of the competitive quality and safety, hygiene, all things have been taken care of. So when we talk about India as a country, when we talk about India as an opportunity, we in India are having a world-class setup of industry which can handle the food industry sector pretty confidently. Moving forward on that is, when you look at what is happening here is, there is a strong focus on setting up the pack houses at the farm gate. There's a concept from farm to fork. So there's a strong focus on setting up a pack houses at the farm gate, setting up the cold storage facilities, and then which has to be built across this value chain. Then another issue which is being really worked upon is the multimodal logistics, because that's another area which we have been working very strongly. In fact, I would like to touch this point on a multimodal logistics that, in India, since I come from a background, it's my caveat come from Kirloskar. So now what has happened is we have come out with a concept called road railer. Now, very interesting subject. It is as of now prevalent only in a few countries worldwide. What happens in this is there is a container which actually moves on a rail, but that container can be offloaded and can move on the road also. So that means from the point of pickup to the point of drop, there is no leakage, there is no theft, there is no wastage. So the multimodal logistics is gaining momentum in India. So that's going to be the future, I believe, probably in India, along with the setting of the cold chain, which is one of the most requirement, I'll say, to prevent the wastages, because we all know there's a lot of wastage which is happening around. So we have to create that kind of infrastructure. That is what we have been working upon. Now, adding to this, there is a very strong push by the government of India. Like they are a pretty strong incentive. In fact, recently they have issued a PLI for setting up these food parks. There have been some good government subsidies, test breaks. There's some tax breaks, and there are some PPP things happening around. A lot of FDI is being attracted to India. So there's a good story for India to really come up, and I believe in the next 2 decades or so, India is going to be the master, in terms of the world food factory we talk about. Now, I just want to touch one important element here, just to give you more idea about what we are doing here and what we can do here. I want to touch upon a product called milk. I think it's a basic thing which everybody in the world uses, even every living being uses in the world. So if you look at the milk, how it is being done, if you look at the India story, we have a very strong, very robust system of cooperative movement here. Now, here we have close to around 18 million kg of milk is being handled per day. Now, you can imagine the quantity. You can imagine the kind of the volume it is being handled by the country over here. So there is a very strong national milk grid which operates between the 700 towns and around 650 or 700 dairy plants across the country. So that means there has to be a sort of a very robust system in place in which we talk about from a produce to the end product. There has to be a very efficient way of handling it. So like dairy has been one of the most success story for India. I just heard about from Mr. Badar also, dairy has been, or in fact Mr. Zainal also, about the dairy product. So I believe India has a very strong experience of handling the dairy products and the milk product. Now, important point remains here is that if we have to embrace these kind of opportunities, we should know where to play and how to play and when to play. So these are the important things which you always really look at. Now, coming to the second piece of my talk, which is talking about the potential, in fact, the business relationship between India and Bahrain. If you look at the Bahrain's import from India with respect to the food processing machinery, I think we are just at around 4% or so. So there is a huge opportunity, I believe, which probably between these two nations, which we can really look at the trading between India and Bahrain. And important point here I would like to touch is that the kind of access, I'll say the access which the GCC markets or the logistics or transport business, which we have over here in Bahrain, probably can give a very strong lever to exporters from India to really go and look at Bahrain as a very pretty strong market to look at. And coming to the third piece of my talk, when we talk about the future potential between India and Bahrain, here I would like to talk on two important parts of it. One is that, if you really look at what actually Bahrain can look at, if you look at Singapore model, we all know that Singapore is a gateway to and from Asia. Similarly, as we all also know that Bahrain is a gateway from to and from India to GCC, and of course you can go to the western part of the Europe and western part of the world also. So there is a similarity, I believe, personally, that what Singapore is today, because I think Bahrain can adopt the same, look at the same way how they can grow. Because what has happened is, if you look at the economy, like Bahrain also enjoys that free economy. They are dynamic. There is an innovation going on, and very business-friendly economy in Bahrain, which is similar to what actually Singapore has been doing. And why FDI can come to Bahrain is very similar to what Singapore is, because of its strategic location, because of the workforce you have, because of the advanced infrastructure you have, because of the zero tolerance against corruption. That's also one of the key factors. And of course, very friendly people, in Bahrain. So that makes it more attractive as a destination for Indian exporters to really look at that market to set up their own business houses there. And the third important part is, even if you look at the economy, again, there is a very strong financial and banking sector in Bahrain, which is established as compared to Singapore. So, and also the oil refining, which is there. So my take on this would be that Bahrain has a potential really to look at, value adding the things from the various parts of the world they import, and then supplying it to the GCC and other parts of the world. So Bahrain can also look at, other suggestion I have is, can also look at actually, creating a food security corridor with the friendly countries. Because Bahrain, we all know that imports most of the food items. So they can have a, sort of a relationship with the required business-friendly countries for the produce they want to bring it to their country, and then do a value addition packet and send it to the GCC or other place of the world. So they can always look at creating a food security corridor for that matter. So basically what I'm trying to mean is that we all know that traditionally, India and Bahrain have been extremely good friends, and they have been enjoying a strong relationship. So we can take this relationship to a next level of our business bonding. So that's all I can look at it. But before I close it, I think what I would mention here is that with respect to the food technology, tech industry, there has been a lot of export from India. We have been supplying a lot of machinery, whether it's a vacuum pumps or a centrifuges or a dryers or a packing machines or air conditioning machines, the crushers, the mechanical domestic appliances. So all these equipments have been actually developed in India. They have been the world-class product lines, which can be actually looked at Bahrain market for export to the GCC and further. So with this, I wish you all the best. I believe we still have a very long way to go, but a big opportunity between India and Bahrain to really look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us that presentation. I now request Mr. Devdatta Deshpande, Strategic Business Unit Head, Thermax, and Honorary Member, Sectoral Committee on Food Processing and Packaging Technology, TPCI, to speak on the engineering opportunity between India and Bahrain.
So good afternoon to all the esteemed guests who are on the panel right now from India as well as Bahrain, and all the esteemed guests who are joining the webinar. So I would like to talk about the engineering goods, probably what we can help the entire Bahrain industry segment in terms of how we can help them to set up various factories and what are the engineering equipments which are required for them to set up that. So just to give a small glimpse of what is SUMAX. SUMAX predominantly has been known for supplying equipments, process heating equipments, process cooling equipments, power plants, vapor absorption cooling machines, water treatment plants, and sewage treatment plants across the industry segment and in the globe. So what we can help the Bahrain community is that, for example, if there was a discussion which was going on that you want to bring a lot of manufacturing out in your own country. So what we can do is that we can be your partners in setting up all those industries on EPC basis, and we can be your one-stop utility shop for you guys. Just to give an example, if somebody is wanting to set up, for example, a food industry, we have a lot of experts along with us because we have been supplying the utility segments. We have been in the utility business for the last 50 years, so we know the process of each and every process in and out. What we can do is that we can help you not only just to supply the utilities, but also help you to pick up the right processes, right equipments, who would be the right people, and can help you to set up an entire manufacturing over there, which will be right from processing units, the utilities required for that, completely on an EPC basis, wherein from there itself, you can take it forward and you can operate and maintain from there. Okay. We have equipment. For example, I saw something in aluminum. If you decide tomorrow to do some backward integration of aluminum, we would be more than happy to help you to supply utilities like boilers, utilities like power plant, because you will require a lot of steam for bauxite, which comes with a lot of silicon integrated into that. So you can use steam for refining the silicon, for cleaning the silicon into aluminum, and then set up your own aluminum industry, which can be a backward integration for doing the end products of aluminum. If you decide tomorrow that you would want to take all the scrap, because somebody talked about a lot of opportunity which is likely to come up in automobile industry or somewhere else. So if you want to set up your own steel plant, for instance, tomorrow, we'll be more than happy to help you to set up those steel, the sponge iron plants, or the BFG or the traditional BFG-fired plants to set up the steel plants, and subsequently help you to recover the entire waste heat which gets generated, have a self-sustaining power plants which will generate power, which will generate steam for this plant, and will be very environmental friendly for this. Okay. So one more opportunity which I see huge, because there's a lot of discussion which is going on food security everywhere. But with food, the packaging industry, the packaged food industry is also coming up very, very strongly today. And if you have to get into packaging food industry, you require something to pack it. Now, polyfilm, which is predominantly used for packaging industry, and the entire raw material for this comes as a byproduct of the refinery. Okay, so this is something on forward integration where Bahrain industrialists can look at setting continuous polymerization plants and then manufacture this polyfilms, which is predominantly required, can be used the food grade packing to this thing, and not only for Bahrain, but can be a one-stop shop for the entire GCC community as such. Okay. I would be more than happy to share that there's a cement plant in Sharjah. Okay, and we help them to set up a 40 megawatts captive power plant from coal. Because coal is a very unknown animal for many of the GCC countries. But we have set up it in flat 18 months, and we partner them in setting up, and not only partner them, but also operate and maintain. Now, when it comes to operation and maintaining of all these utilities, it definitely offers an option to many Bahraini local people to come on board, partner with us, and maintain all these utilities, what we intend to do. Because at some point of time, if you ask me, the major business and the major business opportunity and the major employment is definitely going to come from the operation and maintenance of all these utilities. So we'll be more than happy that if there's an opportunity, not only in Bahrain, but also in some neighboring countries, if we can look at operating and maintaining of all the utilities. For example, if there's a paper industry, we approach over there and we would want to become the one-stop shop for operation and maintenance of the entire utilities. we can partner with Bahrain companies, and then we can create, not only create employment, but we can ensure that the capex which was set up for certain OPEX, especially on the utilities, can be maintained throughout the life cycle, and we can help them for ensuring that the life cycle costs, the operating costs are well within the design limits. Because since we have been in the utility industries for the last 50 years, we understand each and every small aspect of utilities. Not only manually, but we have developed a lot of internal IoT solutions, in-house IoT solutions, which can be used, which can be implemented, and these plants can be monitored through remote and through local people from Bahrain, and we can do the operation maintenance life cycle of this. If somebody is looking for setting up a chemical factory, okay, we would be more than happy to be a partner to set up an EPC, because we know the majority of the process suppliers across the globe. We can collaborate with them. Okay, for example, we are now bidding for some sulfur recovery plants. So if on the also at the and which is a very common thing for the at the back end of any refinery. We can collaborate with the likes of Uday, we can collaborate with the likes of Takers, who can be our engineering partners, and we can set up a complete sulfur recovery plant. That's first thing. So overall, if you ask me, there's a 100% excellent opportunity which offers for us to work with the local people, not only in supplying the utilities, but we can always have a pick and mix of what can be manufactured in India and what can be manufactured locally in Bahrain. And at the same time, when we are going to maintain the life cycle of these utilities, how we can encash on the local people. Okay. One more segment which I see not only in Bahrain but across GCC. Today, the municipal waste, or the waste which gets generated out of every house, is going to become is a pain for each and every country. What to do about it? So we have collaborated with Standard Germany to set up power plants using this municipal solid waste. So and we have seen that most of the cities would have 250 tons, 350 tons of waste. So we can set up small 5 to 6 megawatt power plants which are operated through this waste, localized for not only Bahrain but many cities across GCC. And we would be more than happy once again that there is almost 3,000 to 3,500 tons of accessories which needs to be fabricated. It would be more than easy for us that if we have some partner in Bahrain to help us out, we can support them with all the engineering supervision, and they can be the people who can manufacture all those accessories locally over there, and be our erection and commissioning partners, so that both the countries are into win-win, and that will help up the bilateral. So the point which I am wanting to drive is that I have taken a note that there's a big thing that the Bahrain industries definitely want. Not only they would be more than happy to do some sort of value addition within their own country, which will not only help them to create jobs, but also to create some good top line and bottom line. And Thermax is a company which can offer, because we believe that we would like to take the local partners on board to make the product competitive and also to make the product more localized. For instance, when we went to migrate to Southeast Asia, we are not sending each and every equipment manufacturing in India. We have our own manufacturing setup in Indonesia for catering Southeast Asia. Similarly, we have our own manufacturing setup for the European market. So we can definitely look at working along with the Bahrain industry and try and see what best we can do. For example, if somebody wants to set up water treatment plants and somebody has got the capability, I'm very sure there's a lot of capability making those vessels over there. You can please make the vessels over there. We can definitely collaborate with each other, and we can set up multiple water treatment plants by sending the core equipments from here, the chemicals from here, the resins from here, and we can then also not only set up these plants, but we can also do the operation maintenance of these plants for jointly over there. I also heard somebody looking at solar thermal. We would be very keen to sort up solar thermal plants. We have an option that we may look at investing also along with you guys in setting up the solar farms at this point of time, because we have options of blue business model over here. And now we know that solar is going to be very, very lucrative over the years, because it is not only looked at generating energy, but that energy is likely to be used for creating hydrogen, which is the fuel which is most talked about today in terms of energy in the next 10 years. So we will be more than happy to set up the solar plants if somebody wants to go in the downstream of creating hydrogen. May not be today, but at least today it can be used as generating electricity. but over a period of time, that electricity can be then used for generating this green hydrogen, which is called for, which can be used as a green fuel. So there can be many areas of collaboration, which I strongly believe that we both the countries can jointly discuss and probably bounce across to each other. And we at Thermax would be more than happy. We always believe that we would like to collaborate with the local people and make our solutions more localized. We want the local people to take this solution forward to their own country people, because then there's a lot of emotions attached to that. And we also want their help to operate and maintain them, so that it helps and it gives both the countries a win-win situation. So I would like to end with that note. That's from my side.
Thank you, sir, for that insight and a very positive approach, definitely, to doing business. Finally, I would like to now invite Mr. Ashok Sethi, Director, Trade Promotion Council of India, who will be representing the council as well as talking about the trade scenario and potential between India and Bahrain.
Our distinguished panelists, Excellency Shri Piyush Srivastava, Ambassador of India to Bahrain, especially to mention Mr. Ravi Kumar Jain, Head of Chancery, who has played a backbone role, Mr. Abdul Rahman Juma, Mr. Balasubramanyam, Mr. Ebrahim Mohamed Ali Zainal, Mr. Farid Badr, Mr. Sanjay Grover, and Mr. Deodat Deshpande. Gentlemen, I have noted with intent how well and seriously the webinar has taken a positive trajectory towards our objectives. However, I shall be presenting a quick snapshot on India-Bahrain bilateral trade, investment opportunities on the topics of F&B technology, machinery and engineering goods, which is the hot topic of today, and a brief look at the strength and opportunities of present status. Indeed, there may be repeats of thoughts and figures, but these would only echo to strengthen our belief on the growth way forward. I take this opportunity also to congratulate Mr. Balasubramanyam on his excellent interview with the Bahrain TV yesterday. Virat, I would like to do a presentation. So with your...
Yes, sir, it's enabled. You can present.
Gentlemen, a quick introduction about Trade Promotion Council of India, because we must know exactly where we are coming from, all of us. And as very kindly mentioned that the Bahrain India Society may be looking at an MOU with us, we are always willing to do these MOUs. As a Trade Promotion Council, this is one of our endeavors to partner wherever possible for the betterment. So we are an apex trade and investment promotion organization. We are notified in the Foreign Trade Policy Government of India. We are recognized and supported by Ministry of Commerce and Industries, Ministry of MSME, Ministry of External Affairs, and several state governments. We have over 2,500 active industry members from the various sectors of food and beverage, food processing technology, chemical and allied products, ceramics, IT, telecom, infrastructure, and service sector. We have specialized sectorial committees. For example, we have food and beverage as a sectorial committee. We have food processing and packaging, technology, and other sectors like chemical and allied products, ceramic products, and service, including tourism. Few important players in these respective sectors is what I'd like to share. For example, in the F&B sector, you have Capital Ventures, BKG, Hamdard, Britannia, and these are the bigger names. In food processing technology, you have ITC Kirloskar sitting with us today, Uflex, and others. Chemical and allied products, we have big names like Tanya, GFL, Unitop, Asian Paints. Ceramic Sectorial Committee, bigger names like Barmona, Sunhurt, SEZ, Lawrence. Gentlemen, I'd like to take not much of your time, but quickly focus on the food and beverage technology and engineering goods, because this is where we are coming from right now. Yes, we've talked a lot about our age-old relationship between India and Bahrain, going back to about 5,000 years, and Bahraini pearls being traded with Indian spices. This is excellent. As of today, we take this legacy along, and we say that the strength of about 350 Indian nationals, who comprise about a fourth of the Bahraini population today, are an important anchor on our bilateral relations with Bahrain. Looking at a 3-year comparative of the bilateral trade with Bahrain, we can see below that the Indian bilateral trade with Bahrain has been touching 1.3 billion in 2018, dropped 2019-20 because of pandemic. A good thing is that in 2020, we have leveled off quite a bit and come on terms with 2019 with a trajectory to go higher, hoping that the pandemic scenario will improve. What is important here is the share of India's export to Bahrain versus imports. In 2018, the ratio was 55 to 45, reversed to 61 and 39 in 2019, has balanced off again at 48 to 52. There was a degrowth of 24% in 2019 because of pandemic, again leveled off in 2020. These are numbers sharing to bring buoyancy to a relationship. Yes, the encouraging news is that the Bahrain's e-government and information authority shows that the bilateral trade between Bahrain and Iran and India in the first half of 2021 is over $492 million, a 37% increase on the same period in 2020. Now, yes, we are looking again back at the 1 billion target, and I'm sure we'll do it. Exports from India look west. This policy is a major signal of intent, and we can expect trade and diplomatic ties between the GCC and India to deepen, and the vast Indian diaspora in this region as a channel to increase trade flow. Bahrain would be at the center of a robust presence once GCC opens totally, as it has geographical advantage, logistic competitiveness, and short transit time, which has already been discussed at length. We've also talked about these numbers, but I just wanted to give a quick snapshot of the 7 top products exported to Bahrain. This is very interesting. Yes, as mentioned earlier, it comprises of food and non-food, but the fact remains that the 7 top products, value of exports to Bahrain has been $159 million. Bahrain's import from the world has been $257 million. That means 62%, a lion's share, is catered to by India, which is very interesting. And I do believe that there is scope to grow. Here again, I'm only trying to delve on opportunities. Look at the top 7 products imported from Bahrain. Again, comprises of propane, butane, aluminium in a big way, urea, medium oils. Again, the value of imports is 370 million. However, India imports from the world around $15,500 million, and Bahrain's share is only 2.4% of the total import from Bahrain, which shows that there is huge scope to grow again. And we do believe, as very rightly talked about, aluminium can be a big player. Bahrain also has in the region the best value operating costs, up to 45% more cost effective than the rest of the region. Let's go to the food and beverage technology. And here we see some interesting figures. Bahrain's total food and beverage technology import from the world in 2020 was around 18.2 billion, which in 2019 was just 9.25 billion, which doesn't mean much because it shows that only a couple of few industries were set up. Therefore, there is a promising demand of food and beverage technology and machinery in Bahrain, especially in the processed food section. Following are the top 5 Bahraini imports of food and beverage technology from the world versus India. Now, look at the products. Machinery in milling, machinery for food and drinks, bakery, industrial preparation of food and drinks, and presses, crushes, etc. What does it do? The top 5 Bahraini imports from the world are 11.8 million, whereas India supplies not even $1 million. This goes to say that India can quickly emerge as a major trading and joint venture partner, supplying technology, plant and equipment to Bahrain, with a robust presence in the food and beverage technology sector from a virtually nil status. This is what we have been talking of, and here are numbers only trying to prove it. Gentlemen, we talked about higher value added foods. This is the future. Ready to eat meals, snacks, bars, dips, spreads, sauces, soups. It's very interesting to know that this requires machinery which is to be a little more specialized. Growth in the higher value added food segment is almost 3 times faster than the convenience food is 4 times. Globally, food processing is expected to grow by over 6.2% annually, whereas processing of higher value added foods in emerging markets is predicted to grow by 9%. Now, India's exports of food processing technology is well taken care of when you look at the world and 5 important economies. And this is where I feel that we can play a major role with Bahrain, as India has the muscle to partner with Bahrain in this sector comfortably. As you can see that in these 5 countries put together, there has been a gradual trend of growth, except in 2019 and 20, which was pandemic. This is the same scenario worldwide where our footprints are being felt. Now, I talk about something very interesting, which is India's exports of food processing technology and machines, and potentially for exports to Bahrain. Now, what are the products? Machinery, parts for agriculture, horticulture, food and beverage, harvesting, bakery, paper and sugar. Let's focus on aluminium. Bahrain figures amongst the top global aluminium producers. India also has alumina, the raw material used for aluminium. The aluminium sector contributes about 13% of Bahrain's GDP. Aluminium and aluminium products account for 21% of India's imports from Bahrain. Therefore, there is definitely one important product, which is aluminium, which holds huge potential for greater growth of trade with India. Gentlemen, talking about the engineering market, yes, a lot has been spoken today, even by Mr. Sanjay Grover, that the engineering sector is the largest of the industrial sectors in India, accounts for 27% of the total factories in the industrial sector, and represents 63% of the overall foreign collaboration. Turnover of the capital goods industry in 2019, 92 million, forecasted in 2025, 115 million. 100% FDI is now allowed, and it's become ease of business. Therefore, international players are finding opportunities to enter the Indian engineering sector. This sector in India attracts immense interest from foreign players, as it enjoys a comparative advantage in terms of manufacturing costs, technology, and innovation. India's exports of engineering goods to Bahrain in 2020 estimated at 85.5 million, combined all in engineering products, while Bahrain's imports from the world on the same products is around $3,600 million. That means India's share is only 2.3%, again, a great window of opportunity. Gentlemen, I would like to conclude here that having covered the scenario on a somewhat micro level, we find huge opportunities to build immediate common inroads into the core sector of food and beverage technology, equipment, products like aluminium, IT sector, engineering goods, EPC, which would only enhance the already existing robust food and beverage bilateral trade, for which Mr. Zainal has spoken a lot about, and very rightly so. Indeed, let's pray that the pandemic blows away soon, as we see a silver lining in this dark cloud, and we get back to serious business between two excellent, willing, and friendly nations. Needless to say that TPCI would be ready to participate as best possible to achieve our common objectives. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for all these excellent insights into a wide range of potential between India and Bahrain. I now request for a short Q&A session, though we are a little above, over time, but still. First of all, I would humbly request Your Excellency to tell us about your overall view about the session, and also talk about how the governments of both countries are now looking at the trade and investment potential in India and Bahrain, and what efforts are being taken at the moment for the benefit of our audience.
Thank you, Mr. Bhari. I think it was a very, very interesting presentation and very informative. I think at the outset, I must thank all the panelists who have given such a wonderful presentation. In fact, I would say I have been here for around a year, and I am working very closely with both the governments, industry associations to take forward our collaboration in various sectors. But some of the trade figures, investment possibilities are even it's a sort of a very learning session for me. So thank you so much with both our speakers from Bahrain, also from India. I must add 2-3 points here that I heard here that on MOU on renewable energy and healthcare. I must say that there is a huge scope, and there's good news is this both MOUs are operationalized. In fact, renewable energy, we recently had a virtual meeting between the two government ministries, and there is an interest on both sides to facilitate the private sectors for collaboration. So we are working on this, and I see, I think Thermax and other companies who are willing in this sector in Bahrain, because in Bahrain, there is a huge opportunity and there is a huge government focus on especially solar energy. Similarly, on healthcare also, we are planning to have a government-to-government meeting and take forward the process. Logistics was another important sector which was mentioned. In fact, it was mentioned by, I think, Mr. Grover, multimodal logistics. In my recent discussion with the Economic Development Board of Bahrain, I mean, the chairman mentioned that it is one of the priority sectors. Bahrain wants to collaborate in this sector. So I think this is certainly an area we must look into this. And I think, I don't know who was mentioning about the companies, the big companies. I think this Mr. Sethi was mentioning this, some of his in TPCI. I clearly saw two names which have investments in Bahrain. I can mention this Asian Paints and Parle. They too have already an investment in Bahrain. So overall, I would say an excellent session, which is not reflected in my words or anyone else's, but we can see the chat box. I mean, I was just looking at it during this presentation, and I see a lot of interest. Our endeavor would be to convert some of these discussions, opportunities between the companies into concrete projects and carry forward this trade and investment relations. Whatever we can do, please let us know. And I look forward to further collaboration and also such seminars and webinars, which are very interesting and catalyst in this process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your continuous support to us. Mr. Ebrahim, Zainal, I think you have a comment as well. You would like to say something?
Thank you very much. I just want to end up with one. I hope it will not be misunderstood. When it comes to the relation between Bahrain and India, it has been there for centuries. But when it comes to the industry, I have not seen any joint venture or any investment from India into Bahrain by putting up a factory, except the one that we were just talking about, the biscuit factory. The potential is there. We are not talking only about trading. I'm afraid all the inquiries, even looking at the chats that I have seen, they would be talking about, I got ingredients, I got raw materials. Bahrain is a center to develop food security and food business industries that create jobs for the people, for the locals, apart from just trading. So I hope to see maybe Your Excellency, the Ambassador, or Mr. Shetty from the other side, you organize a visit of very few industrialists in the food sector in India to come and visit the Gulf. You see, when we see American companies like Kraft, like European companies put up an industry and shipping, I see product made in Bahrain in the food sector sold in Africa, sold in India. Most of the industries that exist in Dubai, it was created by the individual Indians in the Gulf, but not by the real multinational or huge industrialists of India. In the poultry, we are looking for poultry joint ventures. The raw material can come from India, the animal feed can come from India, and there are a lot of opportunities. In the fish farming, India is known to be having a fish farming, and this is a sea. Some of the industrialists in India should come to the Gulf. I'm not talking about just Bahrain. As a whole, into the Gulf, there is opportunity. So please ask your counterparts in India, don't look just for trading. The trading is done all the style now. Everybody can trade, but not everybody can establish an industry. Thank you very much. That's it. My line of business is only food. I am only concerned about food. But take it this way, that if you create an industry for the food, that will bring from you the machineries sectors that our two friends from India are trying to promote. It will bring packaging, it is all related industries that will develop. Thanks a lot, and thank you for inviting me to this.
Thank you so much, sir. We take your inputs in the right spirit, definitely. And I am sure that the Indian industry will take this message positively. I would like to ask one question to Mr. Farid Badr. Sir, on the overall manufacturing sector, could you just give us a gist of the key prospects for transfer of technology and partnerships with segments? And why do you think this trade potential has not been realized to the extent it should have so far? What is your opinion on that?
Sorry, let me get the question right.
So I'm saying, I'm saying the prospects of transfer of technology partnerships for Indian companies in Bahrain's manufacturing sector. What are the major opportunities? And what have been the gaps so far that have prevented this trade and investment potential being realized, in your view?
All right. The technology transformation actually is the key now to the changes happening right now. I'm sure I know that Fulad is going through that. Fulad in Bahrain is one of the biggest manufacturers of the iron ore and pellet. They are going through the digital transformation and what is called IoT, Internet of Things. And this is very essential for manufacturing to transform. And I think India can play a big role in this. A lot of, we are encouraging now the manufacturing to automate their manufacturing process in order to be able to compete. So we lack that. We need companies from India to come and help us in that field. Now, the gap is like, I think Mr. Ebrahim said, the Indian are expecting to come here without investment. That's the gap. Okay, but in my case, in my personal experience, the Indian partners really brought money, invested money with me. And we, okay, the proportionate is different, but I mean, they did really have the skin in the game, like they say, you know, they put money where their mouth was, and we also put money. And I think if it's a fair deal, it works. The intention is an important thing. When the intentions are good, all the parties are happy, there is a fair deal. So there is no element of greed. It is really happens, and the success will happen for all the partners. I hope I answered you. Just one thing I want to say in the questions, Mr. Khalid Zayani Bunawaf, he mentioned that I did not mention about metal cable. Actually, metal cable is the downstream of aluminium. So you know, it's the end product. So it's a great manufacturing facility in Bahrain, and it's exporting to all over the world. I didn't mention it. I don't know, I left it. It was in my presentation, I was talking about other industries and going down. So this is already exists. I was trying to say that those who do not exist and the opportunities we can take into that. One thing also regarding food sector, you mentioned about organic food. I think we need that one. We lack in Bahrain, we need partnership between Indians who are in organic food. I think Mr. Ebrahim also, he agrees with me that if they come here for organic food, and also creates other jobs like packages and things like this, which is very true. And don't look at Bahrain as a only place. From Bahrain, you export to Saudi, the biggest market, neighboring market. So all these factors, when you put together, it does really make sense to put a facility in Bahrain.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for addressing that question.
Can I just add one thing in this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just with Mr. Farid, I think just there is a proposal, maybe I can give a suggestion of having a meeting between BCCI and FICCI. You know, they are the MOU partners, since you also wear another hat of BCCI. So maybe we are trying to organize a sectoral meeting virtually, as Mr. Ebrahim Zainal is suggesting, perhaps say a month or two down the line, we could invite a delegation from FICCI. I mean, this is just a food for thought for the BCCI. So there we could have some very productive discussions in this area. Just if you can.
Yes, I think, yes, you have the contact of the chairman of the BCCI.
Yeah, and we are trying, but just since you are here, so
I think on that level can be achieved.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right, Your Excellency. Coming to Mr. Sanjay Grover, sir, there are some sectors of interest which Bahrain had expressed. So petrochemical downstream and waste management, how do you think Indian companies can help Bahrain? Can you give us a brief snapshot of that?
Thank you, Mr. Barik. I think, you know, if you look at the value chain of oil and gas segment, when we talk about it, you know, if you look at that, the segment wise, in the oil and gas segment, we have upstream, midstream, downstream, and distribution. So when you talk about you know, specific questions on the downstream side, when you talk about the petrochemicals in Bahrain, you know, we have a pretty strong, I'd say, engineering experience in any of the segment of the value chain of oil and gas. And what is happening in India, I'll just give you a, you know, before I go to my specific answer. If you look at India today, you know, we are the 6th largest in the world with respect to the petrochemical sector, and probably 4th in the Asian market. And What has happened is India has almost around 21 refineries on the lower side, we call it as the refining side, the petrochemical side. If you look at what has happened is there has been a very continuous, I'll say, innovative, or there has to be a continuous technological development at the refinery petrochemical level, where we're just trying to make it more efficient, in terms of energy, in terms of production, or in terms of the cost, and also be competitive to make sure that the products which comes out of this, the downstream of this oil and gas segment are pretty clean in terms of the environment and also cost competitive. And also, just to add on here, from Indian perspective, there has been a new initiative by the government of India where we, have a process called PCPIR, which means there is a, there is an initiative by the government where we want to implement petroleum, chemical, and petrochemical investment regions, in which the whole purpose is to make sure that all the PCPIRs operate as a cluster in cluster mode, and to reduce the overall capital expenditure. So basically, just to optimize the common infrastructure facilities, utilities and the pipelines and other treatment plants. So that's an area we have been working upon, and as Kirloskars also, we are very strongly placed in terms of providing engineering skids or the engineering packages for oil and gas segment, whether it could be the upstream or a midstream or a downstream or even a distribution. Today, when we talk about this CNG or the NGVs, we are the largest players, and these are all high tech hazardous areas, and we need to be really have to be very critical engineering has to be done. So latest technology has to be in place. So I believe this petrochemical downstream issue will always have a scope of improvement, and we have the technology which can be really looked at with respect to Bahrain's improvement.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Devdatta Deshpande, similarly, I would request you to give your view on aluminium and steel downstream, another two sectors which have been highlighted in the presentation, and how Indian companies can play a role there.
Yeah, when it comes to steel industry, which I think so could be something which is which can be which can be of great interest to Bahrain. We have probably one of the second largest in the world in manufacturing of steel after China. So we can definitely help the entire. We can help them in setting up the entire steel factory, right from concept to commissioning. So right from setting either the steel industry through the traditional British blast furnace or the traditional DRI. So we can set up the steel industry from both the processes. In fact, something very good news for countries in Middle East and especially Bahrain is that since they have natural gas, the traditional DRI process, the direct reducing iron process, which used to use coking coal, is now getting substituted by using the syngas which gets produced, or it's also called producer gas in some part of the world, wherein you split the natural gas into H2 and CO ratio. And H2 in CO is used as a reducing agent to remove all the impurities. So, and that will bring down the carbon emissions down substantially. So there is a very good opportunity for those countries to get into this sort of a steel manufacturing, and not only getting into steel manufacturing, but also getting into environment-friendly steel manufacturing because of the low natural gas prices over there. Coming to aluminium, yes, I think so. As we have seen in majority of presentations, Bahrain and also the neighboring countries do have a lot of finished products. We also can help them if they can get bauxite. We can help them in refining so that they don't have to then depend on the refined or the raw material. They can take alumina, they can make the refined alumina locally over there, and then convert that into billets, so that then it becomes more easy for them that they have a complete end-to-end product wherein they can start setting up. They are not dependent on anybody else in terms of getting the raw material for doing the finished aluminum products. So there's a huge potential where the Indian companies can definitely help them in both these areas.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Deshpande. We have reached the end of this session, but there's just one request from Ambassador Dr. Dafar Al Umran, who's previous senior official in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Bahrain. he just wanted to say something before the panel closes. So I'm just letting him speak. Just a second. Dr. Alumran?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Please go on.
First of all, let me start by saying hello to my friend, His Excellency Shri Piyush, who is here with us. This is Ambassador Amran speaking, and to my friend President Abdurrahman Jum'a for being you know that these kinds of webinars, I feel if they cut us off, we cannot see, you cannot see us, we cannot see you. That's the difference between these webinars and the Zooms. The Zooms, we see each other and we are happy to communicate, but it's a little bit a problem. And then I want to suggest my personal, because I'll talk from my heart, I suggest that webinars like these, which are very important, we should focus on the issues. Yani if we spread too many issues, now it took us more than 2 hours sitting here. At least we can, for example, if we focus on food security, then let's all go for it and then find out what people, Indian people and Bahraini people think about it. And that's how His Excellency, our Indian ambassador in Bahrain, will benefit from. But if we need to talk about so many issues at the same time, it gets too wide and difficult to follow. But anyway, I want to tell you that I worked in Ministry of Foreign Affairs from 95 to 2018 and became as an undersecretary there to take care of the bilateral relation between Bahrain and India. And I want you to know that I was honored to be part of the team of His Majesty King Hamad historical visit to India, and with my Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Highness Sheikh Mohamed, and the Minister of Commerce, His Excellency Dr. Hassan Fakhru. They all went there, and I want to go back to thank Ebrahim Zainal for his presentation, and I was aiming today just to talk about food security. I'll tell you, in Bahrain, after that historical visit, they have created a strategy for Bahrain. It's called food security. And food security, we do not want to go only to Thailand and ask them to help us for food security. We have India, who already, my friend Ebrahim Zainal has said that we have been your friends for thousands of years. So why don't we focus on the main food items like rice, wheat, sugar, spices? Yeah, these are, for Bahrain, they are very important. I hope that my friend Ebrahim agree with me. So why, my point is here that the Bahrain Indian society should work together with our friends at the Embassy of India in Bahrain and the Chamber of Commerce to bring this issue out on the table. Because really, if we don't do that, time is running and Bahrain will not be able to survive without having agreements signed between Bahrain and India on food security. And the other one, I always remind my friend, His Excellency, the Indian ambassador, and he promised to look into it, which is an agreement that I started trying to resolve, but it didn't succeed till now. It is the avoidance of double taxation agreement. It's not from me. All the Indian community in Bahrain and the Bahraini community want this to happen because it does really help strengthen the bilateral relation between the two countries. I can go forever, but I just wanted to thank you all for a wonderful webinar, and we look forward to see another one in the future. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir, for your remarks. And indeed, Zoom is not the perfect platform, but as close as it gets in the current times. But thank you so much, everyone, for giving your quality time out here and sharing your views. It's been really wonderful having you all as panelists today. And with this, I respectfully bring the webinar to a close. Thank you so much, everyone, once again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.